I want to use this tube cut into pieces, like say 3 or 4 inches long.
So we've decided to try and harvest some of the seeds that were left on the plant over winter. We've done this before with flower seeds, but we haven't done it with vegetables or herbs, so it's going to be an experiment. We had some broccoli that went to seed last year, and we're going to try harvesting those seed pods as well as marigolds and cilantro. What you see behind us is the greenhouse along with our second garden. It doesn't look like much right now, but under the snow there, that whole area, we tilled that up to plant some of our larger plants like corn and squash. And over here we have our main garden. In that we had all of our other plants, and that's where the marigold and the broccoli are that I'm going to harvest. And then we also have a herb garden over by the workshop, which we are going to harvest the cilantro from. Well, let's find those seeds. So here's a patch of the marigolds. Brought some mason jars with these lids to collect the seeds in. These ones seem really good. You can see there's a lot of seeds in there. I have high hopes. We're getting some seeds out of this one. So it's the middle of March here. We're approaching our first year at the homestead. We got the place in April of last year. So this will be our first summer where we've had a few months to be able to plan for the garden and plan for everything that's going on. So really happy about that. We've got a lot of things going on, this being one of them. It's great to be able to reuse some of the results of your garden from the year before. So we will be letting these seeds dry out once we get them inside, so I'm not too worried if they get a little wet here. Okay, let's move on to the broccoli. So these are the broccoli pods. They're left to dry on the plant. So as I said, we've never done seed harvest that have dried over the winter on the plants for anything other than flowers before. So we're not too sure if this will be effective or not, but it doesn't hurt to try. So. Last but not least, we need to get those cilantro seeds. Back over there, we're in that forested area. I want to try to start a wild mushroom garden next year. I've been reading a lot of how-tos online about growing your own mushrooms inside logs. So that's the goal, at least. Hopefully we can get that set up and get some videos for you. So now we're cilantro plants here. I'm going to collect these seed pods at the top here. We love cilantro in our salsa that we make. We make a cilantro-free version sometimes for some of our friends and family that do not like cilantro. I guess it's some sort of a genetic thing that tastes like soap to some people. To us that it doesn't, we'll never understand. Yeah, seeds here. What do you think? Yeah? Edible? Okay, we'll stop there. Okay, now we're going to join Dave there in the greenhouse. Got some plans. We're starting some plants already. We'll see how that turns out. Look at it. So I mentioned that we have those 3 gardens, but we also have apple trees. So this apple tree was our best producer last year. It's the bigger of our 2 apple trees. It's had some great apples on it. We end up having to fight with the wasps a bit for the apples, but we definitely got enough to make some apple pie filling and quite a lot of apple cider vinegar, which is delicious. This is the smaller of the 2 apple trees. I'm standing on about 2 feet of snow here, so it's not as short as it looks, but it is smaller. I think it might get a little bit too much shade in the summer from these trees, but still produce some apples. We'll see what it does this year. Okay, let's go into the greenhouse and see what Dave's up to. Hi, Dave.
Hi.
What are you up to in here?
Trying to figure out what to do next.
What to do next?
Yeah. I think the first thing is to tidy up a little bit in here.
Okay, so Caddis and I are busy.
Oh. I think the first thing we're going to do is get some of this garlic planted in this box.
Some looks like it's already started.
Yeah.
That's good.
I want to use this tube cut into pieces, like say 3 or 4 inches long.
I think there's a tube inside it.
Inside of this box.
Okay.
So that we can easily take them out, transplant them into the garden in like a month or so. I have no idea if this is going to work. Obviously you're supposed to plant garlic in the fall, but here I don't even know if that's possible yet. Got to do some research on that. And then if we have any of this tube and any space left, I want to do some of the onion seeds, mass plant those for transplanting into the garden, and milkweed. I want to plant some milkweed seeds out here while it's still cold. We have milkweed still in cold stratification.
The ones in the fridge?
Yeah. That I'll plant inside at the end of this week, this coming week. Before we do the garlic, I want to get these filled up for the milkweed.
So how are you thinking of doing this again, Dave?
Put them, the little cylinders, I think mainly in the middle.
Okay.
Like in the middle of the whole box, just so it's a little bit warmer.
Push it all the way in?
Yeah, push it in. As long as we can see the tops, we know where they are. And then hopefully in a few weeks, once we can actually start working the soil in the garden, we can just pull the whole plant straight out of there.
Without disturbing the roots.
Too much. So this is just garlic left over from last year. We didn't get a decent harvest of garlic at all, really. We planted too late, but we had no choice because we didn't live here when we could plant for last year. So we're going to separate what we can out of here and get it planted. Anything like this that's round, just leave it as is. Don't try and break it open because that's a clove that was starting to develop, but it just never made it far enough. So we'll just keep those separate. This kind of thing we can separate out as best as we can because you can see there's
Multiple.
Yep. I'll focus on whatever's got a bit of growth so far. I'll just leave that poking out the top a little bit. It's still too cold, so we got to bring water out in buckets, which is annoying. Water them all in real good. I'm somewhat hopeful they'll start because the chives out here have already started. I'm going to try onions out here now too. I have onions started in the house, but if we can use the sun, we will use the sun. Chives are really starting to take off since I started watering them out here, which isn't too surprising considering it gets up 25-30 degrees Celsius in here in the daytime now. And it's only dropping down to about -5 roughly outside. So that's at night. Today it's like +4 Celsius. It's summertime. I even put my summertime hat on. So let's get the milkweed seeds into the dirt and see what happens with those if we leave them out here.
Last year we only saw 1 or 2 monarchs, not too many other pollinators, so we want to change that this year by planting some plants that attract pollinators. For example, milkweed, which is great for monarch butterflies. They need this to complete their life stages. So we harvested a seed pod from milkweed. We put a bunch of seeds in the fridge to cold stratify, and then we have these ones which we didn't put in the fridge, which we're going to do a little experiment. We're going to plant them now, so they'll go through some frost and thaw periods out here because it's still pretty cold, and it's going to be cold for a few more weeks now. We're going to plant 5 or 6 in each of these, and then we'll just see how it does, and hopefully we get some plants that will attract some pollinators to our property next year. So we filled up, what's this, 8 cups here with dirt, and I'm going to plant, as I said, 5 or 6 seeds. So the monarch butterfly is not doing so well globally. There's been many efforts to try to recover the populations, but it's very difficult because they don't see boundaries the way we do. They go across several countries. They come up here in the summer from Mexico, where they overwinter, spend time in the States. Some of them even do 2 rounds where they go to the US, they go up to around Florida, they lay some eggs there, then they continue further into Canada. And one of the issues in the United States was they were planting, trying to help them, they were planting the wrong kind of milkweed that doesn't die every year. So they were able to stay alive, and the parasite of the monarch butterfly was also able to stay alive. So it actually hindered the population by planting the wrong kind of monarch. So if you're going to not monarch, wrong kind of milkweed. So if you're going to plant milkweed at your property and you are somewhere where the plant might last all year round, make sure you are planting the right kind. It's always best to look locally and plant a native species rather than trying to buy seeds online, unless you're getting it from a really reputable source. Monarchs are amazing. They migrate quite a huge distance. And you're able to track, scientists are able to track where they've been because they only use the milkweed when they're to lay their eggs on, and then as a caterpillar. So they look at the signatures of the milkweed in the monarch's wings, and then they can tell where that monarch was born. So they're able to track by taking samples of milkweed across the continent and samples of monarchs across the continent where the monarchs are born, which is quite cool. Okay, so I have about 5 or 6 seeds. I'm not good at counting when I'm talking in each one of these. And we'll leave them out here in the greenhouse and compare the difference between how these guys do and the ones that we cold stratified in the fridge. Just add a little bit of water to get them started.
We had a few onions go to seed last year, and rather than throw them away, we let them finish up. And we're going to grow them this year. We've started a bunch in the house already under lights, but I want to try some out here and see how early we can start them in the greenhouse just by mass planting them into one pot. If they sprout, I'll definitely plant more. We eat a lot of onions here. I would say minimum 3 pounds a week. So what's that? 3 times 52. We need over 150 pounds of onions per year.
So we got most of the biomass out. We think it won't cause a problem with the seeds that are there at this temperature. So we'll just kind of spread all this around and cover it with the dirt. And add some water. And more dirt.
And of course, we should probably take the compost temperature. See how that's looking. So we're sitting around 40 degrees Celsius. That's in that spot anyways. We got another pile of kitchen scraps and other junk to put in there. Keep feeding the thing. Feed the steaming pile. So it might be hard to tell in the video, but it's about 50 degrees Celsius in the middle of the pile. So let's feed the beast. Well, that about does it for today. It's nice and sunny. It's probably about +6. We got this nice toasty campfire going, bonfire, whatever you want to call it. It's been fun. Outside all day, planted garlic, harvested some winter seeds, planted onions, hopefully started making the monarchs happy.
Ciao.